Good afternoon, class. So today is 10th of March, and the first news is related to the rise in the cases of UAPA. So why this is important because a lot of people are charged under the stringent provisions of UAPA, under which there is a national investigation agency that look out for the terrorism charges that are currently borne by the people. Now there are 1948 persons, that is an increase of 72% from the earlier 12,026%. The numbers are not important, just remember that there is a huge increase this year in the cases that are reported under UAPA. Now there are 48 special codes that are constituted, but still there is highly stringent provision under which the normal average for a for a person who is accused of the committing terror crimes is about 6 months or 180 days. And there are 42 organizations who are declared terrorists now, and multiple more or many more are going to be declared as such. So, the next one is the Panel Flag Center Meagher pensions. So there is a national social assistance plan under which certain pensions are being given to the downtrodden and the poor people, and basically they have been increased from 200 to 500 per month. That is a very small amount still in the type of the inflation that the people are currently suffering from. This is given by the Department of Rural Development, and the panel have highlighted the unethical, or you can say not empathetic approach of the government to basically towards all the people who have shown laxity in the raising amount, and they have asked or told that there is a need of also the MG Narega wages for the upward revision, which is still the government have thought through, and they have suggested that there will be no upward revision in that particular part. So that is how the things are currently working. So I hope this is clear. Okay, further moving on, the next news is the Firewise. Now, this is accidental fire that have caused much of the damage in the multiple areas. This is a news that have come from Kolkata on the Eastern Railways, in which 8% have died, I think, or 9% have died. Now, in the preliminary account of this aftermath, they suggested that is the textbook case of the general fire safety basics. They were not followed. Why they are not followed, that is still a mystery in India. Most of the buildings that are being built under the National Building Codes lack the safety norms and the other things that are required for cases where the fire breaks out. There is a public liability insurance that is currently not held accountable, that whenever there is a damage that is currently happening, what will be the position of the company who have caused the damage. So there is an extended liability that is needed to be fixed so that the companies do not risk anything regarding the issues or do not take lightly the safety of the human being who was stuck in a particular part in those particular fire accidents. Now, there are robust mitigation techniques that are currently absent. They are needed to be followed. There are drill norms and things that are needed to be followed. The information needed to be communicated. People are needed to be made aware of. Information needed to be passed. And there are still certain procedures and techniques that are needed to be followed at the first front so that it will be better for the people to go into the issues or the things they are currently debating about. The next news is the target judicial patriarchy, not the judge. So now this is a issue again written, although this issue unnecessarily have highlighted this particular Faizan Mustafa, all the cases that are related to the woman, but I will tell you 2 or 3 things that are needed to be important here. The first one is the Banwari Devi case. Now this is very important case because that have led to the formulation of the Vishakha guidelines, and after that there is the protection of the women at the workplaces from sexual harassment, and the act was enacted in 2013. We will talk about that later. Although this case is not important, but this particular person have written an article in such a way that it is not the problem with the judge, it's the problem with the mindset of a particular society who have for centuries now under multiple judgment, under those particular evidences have treated the woman as a thing from the mindset of a patriarchy. They always think that the man have a superior role and a superior command as compared to the man, and that have led them into the mindset or the quotations or the judgments that they have made. There needed to be gender justice, and gender justice needed to be taken up front in the name of all those women who have suffered. It should not be taken in the name of the man who have been accused in the multiple cases. Now, when we talk about the brutality, this is another question that I have told you. The judge of the Supreme Court have questioned this particular part, that how can you tell about brutality between a husband and wife if under sex there has been something, and if there are marital relations, there are some consented things that the both husband and wife agree with one another, and over the time if there is a issue regarding something, there may be fallout of that particular thing. According to Faizan Mustafa, which he is completely true in agreeing, that when you damage private part of some woman, it is certainly a type of a rape that the women have not consented to. But there may be other things that may happen in this particular area. So although these things are happening, this is also with respect to the marital rape. When the judgment was asked and the organizations were asked, a lot of organizations and the people and the judges were also against marital rape, and the Indian law still not provide the safety that it is required to provide to the woman in the marital relation. So it is still seen as a sanctity, and it is still seen as an internal matter, because we are thinking from the patriarchal view, and the individual that is situated over there in the form of the woman is not taken into consideration. Now that is what the Faizan Mustafa is saying. He says that this particular mindset of treating women as a part of a household and not treating women as an individual is coming from a patriarchal mindset, and that needed to be changed. Now, when we talk about, most of the time the rape is always seen that if there is a penetration or not into the woman of any sexual kind, but now we need to also provide the definition of the rape if there is a violation of her bodily integrity and if her sexual autonomy, even if she is not consented or forcefully consented to having a particular sexual relation with anybody, that is, she is not abided to, she also needed to be having a judgment in her favor, that she can criticize or put up a case against her own husband if she is not comfortable with her. But in the marital relation, I think the problems, the opportunity should be given to both sides. So I do not know if you remember or not, certain while back, as Faizan Mustafa have basically I think forgotten to mention, but there was a male who was granted divorce on the grounds that her wife would not keep clean, and therefore she have lost all the sexual relations, sorry, appetite for the sexual relations, and therefore he wanted to seek divorce from that particular woman. And then he presented the facts that she would not wash herself for 7 or 8 days, the woman, and this was the fact of this particular case. Now in that particular case, that is the thing that have happened. In another case, there was a woman who has accused the man of the same kind, that he always used to chew gutka, and to prevent myself from the tobacco things that from the things that he is currently consuming, I am not going to have sexual relationship with him, therefore I am seeking for divorce. Now these are the two cases that both I have read from the both front. So in both the cases, the Supreme Court have awarded the divorce to either of the people, but these are some delicate things that are not discussed, because the marital relation in India is still seen away from the purview. There are family court who take judgments on the issues, but these courts are very limited to the extent in guaranteeing any relief. So in the case of rape, definitely there should be a relief depending on the exploitation that have happened, but it should not be a suo motu explanation which the Supreme Court, from a one-sided explanation which the Supreme Court usually does not do. It always hear the parties from either side, whether there is any form or what was the consent that was given, if the consent was given, up to which level it was given. So that is what the question he has talked about. Now the one case that we need to discuss here is the Bhamvri Devi case. Now this case is very interesting, class, and although this is, I think, one of the blot on the India's face, this case was, I think, happened in Rajasthan, and in 1992 you should read about something about this particular case, because this particular case was the one of the major cases that led to two very important questions. The first question, first of all, let me give you the background of the Bhamvri Devi case. Bhamvri Devi was a type of a government employee or type of a social activist working under a government organization or government department of health and family welfare over there. Now there were Gujjars in Rajasthan, under which there was a child marriage tradition, and they were marrying children, I think, in the age of 1 or 2 years. So Bhamvri Devi basically told their superiors, as reported by the media, that these are Gujjars and I am from a Dalit family. if I do something to them, there will be problem for me. As she was in the need of the money, the officers told her that you should do the government job. This is what the government will do. So she went over there. She tried to stop the marriage. She humiliated the people, which have threatened them, the upper caste Gujjar. They have threatened her that you will pay this price. But on the next day, they were able to marry their daughter in the same manner. Now, after some days, the husband of the Bhamri Devi was working in the field. The Gujjars came and they start beating him up. Then Bhamri Devi went to the field and she was raped, and it is alleged that the relative, uncle, and all the people from the Gujjars basically have raped her in the field. Now, then she claimed compensation from the department because she was performing a duty, due to which the fallout of it, she was have to suffer this particular kind of thing as she was raped. Now, the High Court have given an absurd judgment in that. I think one of the major blots on the High Courts, but we will talk about what the High Court have said later. And the second case she filed against the rape that has been committed. And there was a case that there were some people who were involved in this particular uh, uh, case who were let go of, and they were the superior local leaders of that particular part. So the High Court gave a judgment that the claims made by Bhavri Devi cannot be said true, because it was the village head who was committing the rape, which he could not. He cannot commit the rape, he is the village head. Secondly, the relative uncle and nephew cannot commit rape in front of each other. That was the absurd judgment that they have given. Secondly, the upper caste men who don't even touch the lower caste woman, how they can commit rape of the lower caste woman. So these are only the 5 to 6 things. Out of that, only 3 I am quoting that were the most absurd. There are other absurd things that they have said. If you want to go into detail, you can go with this. Now then she went to the Rajasthan court. This is a judgment that was given. Then she went to the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court framed the Vishakha guidelines in 1997, and all the people, due to lack of evidence, basically over the time, because her FIR was not registered, the people were also persuaded to not register or entertain any of the claims that she is currently making. So these are some of the issues that are there. Now in the case of Vishakha guidelines in 1997, the Supreme Court have said that if there is anything that is currently happening at the workplace, the woman should be given the benefit of the doubt. And that later led to, in 2013, the prevention of the sexual harassment at the workplace for the women, so that the workplace could be made more safer for the woman to work with. Now, these are some of the cases that are being discussed, but Bhavri Devi case is very, very important. That led to later the formation of the Vishakha guidelines, and Vishakha guidelines is totally for the protection of the woman at the workplace. Now these are some of the things that they are talking about, and they are saying that the Supreme Court have not only just said that in a particular case, although the context is wrong, because we have already understand what the Supreme Court have said, what the CGI meant by the question that he have asked, but raising this particular question that whether there is a patriarchal mindset in the man or the judges that are existing in India needed to be looked at, or the judges needed to be, if or whether they need to look inward. That is a direct question that we should ask, and I think that is one thing that needed to be made, that the judiciary needed to be had to be aware of, that this is what the impression is, or maybe there is some element, because of course the people who are sitting on the judges chair are also human being, and they have a certain set of ideology under which they judge. Nobody can be completely unbiased, and there is some bias always in the judgment. Whether he shows to a particular level, that depends. So these are some of the things that are here. The next one is the plowing a new furrow in the anti-regulatory system, agri-regulatory system, sorry. Now what is the issue? So there are constraints that are talked about, and he have given a very clear indication of the things that have happened in India. He says that in the case of constraint, when we talk about India, there is technological, market, finance, human resource, information, current system that currently does not exist in India. According to the government of India, they try to basically push through a particular 3 law which could basically implement the positivity with respect to the various constraints that are currently restricting the growth of the agriculture sector in India. Now, there is a World Bank report on the enabling the business of agriculture. Now, this enabling the business of agriculture have 8 indicators that have come or have judged 101 countries, in which India have ranked in 49. When we talk about the total ranking of the countries, Turkey is the best performing country, followed by different countries. But the important thing to note is that all the countries, Brazil, China, and Russia, even the USA, are in front of it. When we talk about the 8 indicators that they have taken, these are the supplying seed, the trading food items, the access and finance. These are the three things only on which we have performed good. In the case of fertilizer, securing water, sustaining livestock, protecting plant health, and machinery. These are the things we have not secured good. So first of all, we need to change that particular perception with respect to the seed supply and with respect to the securing water and sustaining livestock, that we need to go ahead with. So these are some of the things that he says that we need to go. The future of the agriculture is basically dependent on the middle income countries, how efficient they are with respect to the conduct of the agriculture, and the efficiency cannot be on the small plots, cannot be on the things that are needed to be contained, and cannot be on the things that are still have an opportunity to be improved. If we have to compete with the best, definitely we have to perform good on these 8 indicators that include seed, fertilizer, water, livestock, health of plant, trading, access of finance, and machinery. So finance, I think the bank credit card system, there is a trading food items, that is also with respect when the people, because they eat lot of agriculture food, there is supplying of seed. We have a lot of people who are supplying hybrid seed in the region, but we are lacking in water. Till date, most of the part of India is still rain-fed. There is a supplying of the seed that is needed to be done. There is also sustenance of the livestock that is needed to be provided, and also there is a trading of the food items and the other things that are needed. Sorry, there is protection of the plant health that is still not taken into consideration. So these are some of the things. The next one is the QUAD, that is strategic opportunity over quagmire. Quagmire is a condition that is a type of a place from where you can not go to anywhere. Now, when we meet at the summit level, this is the essential momentum and the important potential that we are currently having. Whether it will provide important potential for India. Now, in the case of Belt and Road initiatives, they have various things in India, or it have basically rang into the ears of the people who are at the helms of the policy making or the strategic interest of India. Now, India have a suspicion, therefore they connected with all the things that are currently existing outside of India. And then they talked about the issues that happened with respect to the India having connected the Indo-Pacific. Now, the first question Tamzeen Ahmed has asked is basically whether India wanted to be part of Quad or not. Although they have been pursuing with it, and maybe the stance at the border have led to the close cooperation with respect to the things that should not have happened at the first place. When we talk about Indo-Pacific, India is the only country that share a land border with China, and other countries are only located about the Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean. There is no reason there which shares a direct boundary with India. So India may be used as a type of a pawn by the US agencies, but then again, there are limitations to everything. When we talk about the US policy in the land border, there are limitations to it. As we have already seen that America can only contain the role of the Pakistan, and that too if the Pakistan is not needed by the United States of America and some other reason. So they need Pakistan in Afghanistan, but in that particular case there are issues that are related to China, that it is having close cooperation with Pakistan, which is encircling India from the outside. Now, India earlier have shied away from all the basic impression to giving it to China that India is not joining any of the agency that is anti-China. And this is the same statement that India have made in the Shangri-La dialogue. And India have basically agreed that we want a rule-based order, but that is highly impossible to see, although China and India both, USA and India both see China as a type of a competitive country, but they are not going to do it anything about that because China is already investing on the 5-year plan. They are increasing their production, working on the core technologies that are there, and already there is a huge bilateral trade between the two countries. The trade of China with India is approximately $77 billion, which is highly favorable in the case of China, and the deficit of India is basically close to $45 billion. Apart from that, we have a trade between China and US that is currently touching at about $1 trillion. So that is also one thing that needed to be understood. Now, when we talk about Quad, it is not serving the hostile grouping and it is directed against China. This is China, no. But would it serve India? That is another question. There are Indian sources that are needed to be put at the border, even in this particular condition. And we very well know that the role of the American people or the USA is very limited if India have to protect its land frontiers. Apart from that, there is also certain shortcomings that have cropped up at home, in which the people at the home are needed to be basically united at some places. There is a need for more resilient and the theater command opportunities that may be there, but we still have constrained resources that are needed to be put up front so that the country will be having a better way with the things or with the issues that is currently facing at the border and also facing with the Quad. So I hope this is clear. The next one is the in the need of full-time heads. So read this on your own. This article is nothing to read. You just have to remember the data from it. Remember the BSF and NCB is headed by Rakesh Asthana. CBI earlier was headed by RK Shukla, but it is currently empty. Then we have NSG that is without a regular chief, but SS Deswal have the acting head of it. SS Deswal is the ITBP head. CRPF is without head. And then we have BPRRD that is headed by as an acting role as an additional charge of VS Komedi, who is a secretary, junior secretary in that particular part. So this is how they are currently functioning. So he has suggested that they are very important right now. CRPF is the highest force with 3.5 lakh people and they are internally functioning. They have an impact on the efficiency and therefore important decisions are not taken because most of the people who are acting, they will not go into the decision making, and this also affects the promotion line. There should be a panel of the people who should be sitting over there and they should be appointing all those people 3 months in advance so that the 2 years of superannuation time is being given so that the critical decisions needed to be taken up, and the panel at the UPSC should be given, as in the case of the police officers, 3 months prior to the last person when he is going to vacate the office. So that is how it should be working. The next news is related to the cyber volunteer program rolled out. This is informed by MHA to Lok Sabha, and volunteer used to make a check on the public scrutiny, surveillance, etc. We have already talked about that it may create a different kind of surveillance system that is not present earlier. It is a lateral surveillance system apart from the power surveillance or the vertical surveillance system, but it could create a lot of bifurcation in the system because when it is against the state, the people can protest, but when you make people against people, it is very impossible but not to see the not to see the factions of the society being divided into multiple divisions. So that is the one problem that is associated with the cyber volunteer program. And the next one is the Covaxin enhanced immune response. So the 2 doses of vaccine basically induced high neutralizing antibody responses, up to 81% is the total objective that they have achieved. The next one is Army Showcase counter-terror skills. So this is exercise called as Dastlik, and Dastlik is the exercise that we have with Uzbekistan. Please remember, this is very important, and I personally think that this time it may come. Now Uzbekistan is a key to the connectivity for the central region, that is the Central Asia. Recently we have multiple treaty with the Central Asian region. We have a Central Asian group of countries which consisted of 5 countries, and India have cooperated with them. Now when we talk about the counter-insurgency and the counter-terrorism operation, that is also the problem of the Uzbekistan government, and they have, Indian military have basically shared the counter-insurgency and the counter-terrorism operation with the Uzbekistan government in the mountains that they are currently present over there. The next one is the US plan for Afghanistan raises concerns that what a US plan basically is. Now why they wanted to include India, although India, it is a good news that they want to include at the process, but what they wanted to do, that is still not understandable. There are 2 things that are not understandable right now. First of all, they have included India, China, Iran, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turk and Uzbekistan on the table in which two of the countries do not see eye to eye. For example, India and Pakistan and China and USA do not see eye to eye with one another. So that may create a trouble. Apart from that, the peace process is currently held at Turkey. So there is a possibility that maybe the NATO will be revived and the Turkey, which is the member of NATO, will also be given a type of a stabilization force. Now, when we talk about Turkey, Russia does not have good relations with Turkey as we have seen in the recent times, but still they have a type of a cooperation in different areas and in different issues. So that is another issue that needed to be done. But we will have to see what they are trying to do and what is the objective of USA. Although if you are bringing in India and all other countries on the table, I don't think it will be good for India, but it will not be good for the state of Afghanistan. Already they have made this suggestion. The US have already said that they want a new inclusive government, but maybe there is a possibility that the US will withdraw its troop and there will be NATO stabilization force that will be posted in the state of Afghanistan. The next news is related to US asks Afghan leader to consider an inclusive government. This is still the same, I'm not going to detail. The next one is in the first China launches virus passport. So health certificate program for the Chinese travel will be given, which will show their vaccination status, whether they are safe or not. That will help them to promote the world tourism right now, or all the Chinese who are getting out of the countries, they will be able to basically go. And this is a very good policy, I think, in bringing trust to the world community that they are vaccinated. The next news is related to the tale of the two terminals in Colombo. So you read this on your own. I think already we have talked about it in details. What was the issue? What is the thing that they have offered? What is the issue with respect to the Adani group? So I will not go into detail. And the last news of today is government asked refiners to diversify oil imports from OPEC plus move. So OPEC, that is the oil producing and export companies, have suggested that they will basically cut down the production of the oil so that a better prices could be fetched. Now India have asked that there need to be a alternative thing to these particular issues, because we need to diversify our oil imports so that we are not entirely dependent on the Western countries. Right now there is 60% of the total petroleum or the crude oil that we import, and the oil processing companies basically produce or the consume total of the third of the oil that is present in India. So sorry, India is the highest importer, that is at the third number in the world. So that is one of the things that is there. So I hope this is clear. तो अभी के लिए इतना ही करते हैं, फिर नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में इसे शुरू करेंगे.